All right, ladies and gentlemen, who's ready to get inspired this week, today, on Inspired with yours truly, Cameron Stevens? We have a very, very special guest, a very manly guest. Newfoundland's most manly wrestler, New Evolution Wrestling's Manly William Marsh. Brother, how are you doing today?
I am well, thank you, Cameron. How are you?
I'm very good. So, to open up inspired here today, we should probably touch on what got us to this interview, I suppose. So, we recently were out to Catamaran Park.
Yeah,
Um,
something to show.
do you still have your sunburn?
I sure do. It's not pleasant.
The sun was brutal, was it not?
Yeah, too warm.
You made it to the finals of the Catamaran Cup against what was it, Jeremiah Javen?
Jeremiah Javen in the finals. Yeah, I almost had it too.
Just about there too. Um, but yeah, it was a great showing on your part there. Three tremendous matches. Unfortunately, couldn't get the W on Jeremiah Javen there at the end. You also competed against, I believe, Zach Youngblood and what
That
was the?
was it. I got a bye to the finals. I only wrestled twice.
Ah, look at you.
Which
So
helped.
after that show, you had said, you know what? Let's do inspired. So
Yeah.
to open up the inspirational side of things, who would you say was well, I guess who or what would you say was some major influences or inspirations for you when you were younger?
When I was younger, I started wrestling with or watching wrestling with my grandfather, and he was and my great grandfather. They were pretty instrumental in um, introducing me to it and everything. So I remember one of my first times watching it was with in the late '90s with the Ministry. So Taker was always big. I loved him growing up, and Jeff Hardy too. Those were my favorite guys growing up. And then as I got older and I stopped doing all the Jeff Hardy flips because because my body started hurting, and when I started wrestling, I mainly switched kind of styles, and I was watching a lot of Arn Anderson and old WCW, and I just loved the way that he would work and command the ring and his hard mouth style, and I love that. So that's kind of what I base myself off of today.
Absolutely, and we're definitely going to touch on Arn Anderson afterwards. That's kind of going to be our he's kind of our headline, much like at Summercade 4, I believe it was. Arn
Yeah,
Anderson is the headlining uh, guy of this podcast. We're making sure everybody we can build. We're going to build to Arn and
yeah.
get really in depth with him. When it came to getting into wrestling, you said you were watching it with your grandfather.
Mhm.
How did that really come about?
I was 8, so it's kind of hard to like remember a lot of it. But I remember just sitting down with him, and we would watch it. He used to watch it like every now and then. It wasn't like on the TV all the time, but after I got hooked, it was. And so then I ended up actually like watching it a lot alone. But he would sit down a lot and watch with me and give me the lowdown of what happened. And then I obviously, like everybody, you see it on TV and you want to do it for your rest of your life. So that's where that came from. We just would hang out, watch it together. I never went to any of the local shows. He never brought me to any of those or anything. It was just on TV.
And when you were watching when you were younger, who were some of your favorites? What were some of the things that caught your attention?
Taker and Jeff Hardy were my my two favorites growing up. Um,
Now, was this like Ministry Taker or was this
it was
American
Biker
Badass?
Taker actually, because he switched from Ministry Taker to Biker Taker, like as I was getting into it. So I have a soft spot for Biker Taker. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan, but I am. And then Jeff Hardy was really on the rise there too. So I would rent all these old VHS tapes from a road down the store down the road. Like every week, we'd go down there and I'd rent WCW tapes and WWE pay per view tapes and everything. So that's how I got caught on a lot of the stuff that happened in the Attitude Era, was by these pay per view tapes. And then my aunt owned a video store, so she used to send a whole bunch of others my way, which I still have to this day. So
That's
uh,
awesome. So,
yeah,
it's funny from the sounds of it, we kind of were getting into wrestling around the same time frame.
yeah.
But yeah, man. So what would you say it was about Taker and Jeff that really like caught your eye? Because like I remember Biker Taker used to come out. Like I used to love the motorcycle. The motorcycle
Yeah,
was awesome. Then he'd come out and just beat the shit out of people, right?
exactly. I love that, and I love Jeff's high flying style. Like I love to watch that. It wasn't excessive as it is now in wrestling. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it was like just enough to get you like excited, and I thought it was really cool. And his face paint and the armbands and everything, I thought it was awesome. To the point where I would in school, like I would climb on top of the schools and do front flips off of them in the snowbanks lots of the time, most of the time, but sometimes I didn't always land the way I wanted to, and I'm paying for it currently.
Yeah, I still do that. But
Yeah,
it's a really awesome time frame in wrestling, in my opinion, because there was a lot of awesome stuff on the go between the SmackDown 6 and all the
yeah.
crazy things going on Raw. Were there any matches around that time frame that you would say stood out to you when you were younger?
I remember one very in particular was when Jeff Hardy faced Taker in the ladder match. So when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to stay up and watch Raw, so I would record it um, every night or watch it on Tuesday after school. It used to come on Tuesday afternoons, but this one I couldn't. I recorded it right away, and I was 100% Jeff's going to win the belt. This is going to happen. And I remember waking up super early the next day before school and checking WWE.com and seeing if he won. And I seen his hand raised with Taker, and I thought he did it, but that was just the end of the match. So I was a little bit disappointed there, but that's one of my big ones. And oddly enough, there's a match from Vengeance, Edge, and Orton for the IC belt. That is a standout match in my mind because I just remember loving every second of that. And it was just a really good wrestling match. And not many people think of that one.
Yeah, it was a tremendous match, absolutely. So as you got a little bit older, um, how old were you when you started getting into to wrestling? Like actually into the industry?
Oh, it was 2013. So about 8 years ago. So I'm 29 now. So I'm 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you started out as a referee, correct?
I started out, I was just driving and helping out at the shows, like working canteens and everything. But in a couple months starting, I started refereeing, and I did that for about 4 years.
Who would you say were some of your inspirations as a referee? Because a lot of people don't realize just how important a referee's role is in the
Referee is the
professional
third man
wrestling.
in there. He's the third man in the ring, but I never really watched any specific referees or anything per se. But uh, when I was mainly refereeing. It was with LCW, and Cowboy Mike Hughes taught me pretty much everything about wrestling or about refereeing. Um, he would give me like a lot of hints and a lot of like, here's how you should position yourself, make it look like you got to be involved. And here's how you do it. And I was a really shy person before coming into wrestling. Like I really broke out of my shell because of wrestling and got a lot more confident with myself. And a lot of that was to do with when I was in there wrestling, refereeing.
So when you were refereeing, how did you make that transition into becoming a wrestler?
Kick Scott Hummer in the head. But no, so I was going through a really rough time in life, actually. My grandfather, who he had just passed away, and then I moved up to Barrie, Ontario for the summertime with a girlfriend I had at the time. And I was in rough shape. I literally moved 2 weeks after the funeral, right? So it was, I still hadn't processed anything. So I was up there essentially on my own, no family or anything. Um, but then I started training at Battle Arts in Mississauga. So 3 times a week, I'd make the hour drive there to there and the hour drive back for an hour and a half training sessions there. And I did that the whole summer I was there. And honestly, that's for lack of a better term, saved me because it was just I was in such a bad headspace, and that drive down really helped me focus and everything on what I wanted to do. And then the training itself was just took my mind off of everything, right? So it essentially just started me on the path I am now.
And that path has led you to um, a much better place, thankfully.
100. I'm
Um,
a different person now.
oh man, and we're all happy for it, brother, because you're one of the more positive guys around. You try to keep things pretty
Don't say that too
leveled
loud.
out.
Yeah, I like this. I like to have positives. Like I find that everything goes so much better when everybody's in a positive mood and the emotions are high. And if there's shit going on and everybody's negative, people don't perform at their best. And that's just something I've noticed. So I always try to keep a positive attitude. Sometimes you can't because life sucks, but like you do your best you can.
Absolutely. And speaking to your, I guess, outside of wrestling life,
Yep.
I know you're quite the tabletop gamer, if that's the terminology for it.
I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, yes. I'm currently surrounded by cards.
So, how did you get into Magic originally?
Oh god, I originally started playing in like 2012, 2013, around that time, and we would play a lot at work. So all the guys would they had their they had the decks, and on our breaks, because we normally would have 15-minute breaks as lifeguards, and you'd come in and you'd play around and you'd go back out. We did that for years, and then slowly people started quitting the workplace, so then nobody was really playing Magic, so I didn't play as much. Sold all my cards, and then a couple years ago, my buddy's like, "Oh, we're playing Magic again," and he's like my best friend. And I was like, "You're an asshole! Like, why didn't you tell me this? Because I like I just sold all my stuff." So then I got back into it, and we play weekly, and it's a great escape too. Love it.
What would you say is the standout thing that got you interested in Magic? Like, obviously, it was something you could do with your buddies, but
Yeah,
what was it about Magic that sort of gave you that escape?
I honestly don't know. I just started playing and was like, "This is really cool." I like because I played Pokemon as a kid and Yu-Gi-Oh and all that stuff, and I just like there's so much you can do in that game. You could play it for 10 years and not have all the play styles that you explored, right? Like I play certain colors that are very aggressive, big creatures, but you can also play it very safe and like counter everybody's stuff. Like it's all like you can really get into it like any way you want it kind of thing. It's a very vast game. I could say it like that.
100%.
Mm.
Um, Outside of professional wrestling and things of that nature, um, was there anything that you would consider inspirational that sort of helped you, whether well, like helped you get through a struggly situation, or potentially something that helped you with pro wrestling?
Two things really. Video games with a really good story that I could dive into and forget and kind of just turn off my brain for a while. And just driving. Um, I get some sort of like zone when I'm driving by myself. I even do it to this day. Like if I'm feeling like overwhelmed or something, I'll just go for an hour drive or something like that. And I think that all stemmed from when I was in Ontario, driving those hours to Mississauga and back, just in my own head, calming myself down and whatever. So that's a tactic I use to this day, and it helped me get through all that stuff because everything got honestly when I got back from Ontario, things still got worse. So I had that crutch there, but that also helped me with wrestling because I know how to level myself out, and I also do karate, so that is a big crutch for wrestling too. Like it helped me a lot. Like I kind of involve that in my what I'm doing now. Like I bring my belt to the ring, and that is my legit karate belt that I bring to the ring with me every time. I earned that a couple years ago. I'll be going for my next level soon. So like I feel like that helped me a lot get the athleticism I needed for wrestling, and it's also something I do that I really enjoy doing, and it gets me in that good headspace too.
And you said that was you're going for your next tier. Which tier are you going for with that belt?
So we're currently I have a fourth level, and I'll be going for my fifth degree black belt now next year.
Deadly.
Yeah.
So, speaking to karate, you've been doing that for
Since
quite
I
a
was like
while.
6 or 7. No, grade 6. So like 12, 11 or 12.
How did you find karate? What dojo, or if I'm saying that correctly?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So actually, that's a weird. Like I did taekwondo when I was like 5 or 6, and I hated it for some reason. I don't know. But then me and mom were just getting gas one day, and I looked across the street and I seen my karate instructor doing a form in the window, and I pointed. Mom was like, "I want to do that. Like, look, it's karate. Like, I really want to be there." And sure enough, within a couple weeks, she had signed me up, and the rest is history. That's how it started. I just seen him in the window.
and when you started, were you like starting in a class with other kids, or were you thrown in with the adults?
No, I started in the class with kids around my own age. Um, so then I slowly worked up as I got bigger and stuff. I was I was thrown into the adult class when I was about 16 because everybody else was either like 10 to 12 or an adult. I was kind of in a weird middle ground for my age and my size, so I was thrown into the adult class pretty early. I wasn't like that was mainly a black belt class, but I was thrown into it. Like, here you go. So I actually learned a whole lot being in there. Actually, so it was really good.
Well, that's good. I'm glad the karate thing is coming back into the wrestling side of things. how did you come about in including that into your manly side, if you will?
I was doing the comb thing for a while, and then I just felt I can do this too. Like I can show more of what I have. Like I don't know, it's kind of hard to put into words. Give me a second. Like almost like legit stuff. Like I can actually go in there and punch and kick and like hurt. So why not just put that into a gimmick? Carry my belt out, shows I'm tough. Go from there.
Absolutely. And you were talking about the comb. Where did the idea for the mustache thing come from? Because I absolutely loved that when I first came out.
It was pretty funny. People just used to compliment my mustache all the time because it's thick and full. And who should do that? We'll see, we'll see. And then Travis actually messaged me one day. He's like, I found a comb shaped like a mustache, and I bought it for you. Here you go. And that's how the mustache comb came. It's literally it. He's like, it's a comb shaped like a mustache. There you go, run with it. So, but then I feel like I don't know. That might have run its course a bit too quickly, but I'm only young yet. We'll see what happens.
Oh, 100%. So with the mustache thing and the comb and everything, during that time, it was not just Manly William Marsh on his own. He was a member of the Dukes of Silver.
Yeah,
Uh, how did the Dukes of Silver come about, and what
you
were
talking
some
about
of the inspirations for it?
you talking about the name or just how the tag team came?
Both.
So, I debuted with Vera Vine, and then she was managing Wheeler. So we just formed a tag team there, and then we're deciding on what to call ourselves. And I jokingly said Dukes of Silver because we would both toss huge Parks and Rec jabs at each other all the time, and both loved the character Ron Swanson, and his alter ego was Duke Silver. So we just called ourselves the Dukes of Silver, and they went from there.
So when it came to your guys' in-ring style, what would you guys say was your main inspiration for your uh, vibe and your style in the ring?
I don't really know. It kind of just happened naturally. I was more of the hard hitting one because I was looking at this time. I was looking at more of your like FTRs and your more low to the ground tag teams, right? Well, he was more agile and did the high flying stuff. You can kind of see that in the moves we did with the DDT, with the stomp. I was the one doing the DDT. He was in the air, kind of thing, right? Like, feel like my hard hitting style complemented his agility, and like vice versa, right? So, kind of meshed well in that regard. We weren't just a team of high flyers. We're both a team of grapplers per se. It was one and the other. So we didn't really have a specific inspiration team. Just kind of delved as we went along.
Okay, Manly, we got to address this clown here, Jeremiah Javen here. You're seeing this comment?
I am seeing that comment there. So the problem
So
is I didn't care about winning that match. I went outside the ring to get my kendo stick to take his head off with it, and he just got lucky and got out of the way. Right in front of the referee. So he
Well,
just
and
got
me, he blinded me, so
see how it is.
I couldn't see how it is. That was the problem.
True.
But back to inspirations and all that. um, you just brought up your kendo stick. What
Yeah.
was the idea for coming up with that, and how did that all
I
come about?
I stared at that thing in my karate dojo since I got there. It was hanging up on the wall since I started for years, right? So I would always be like, man, that's really cool because I was always into wrestling games and you have the kendo stick and that was really cool. Make a wicked sound. So I always admired that. I was always bugging my instructor, like, tell me about it. Like, how's it work? Kind of thing. So then we moved schools and he gave me the option of buying it. So I jumped at that. I said, here you go. Take my money. So that kendo stick is actually it's used to train like almost with like the samurai swords, the same kind of deal. Like they would gear up fully head to toe and spar with it.
Hmm.
So it's a legit actual kendo stick. But yeah, I'm buying this, and then I was like, I really want to incorporate this. Like I brought it out into my doors, ladders, and chairs match, and then I realized, wow, I'll just come to the ring with this because it's one of my favorite things I own.
Oh, 100%. Um, so with all of the uh things you've done in professional wrestling, uh, one of the coolest things you've done, you've been a tag team champion as a
Right.
member of the Duke of Silver twice. So once you became a tag team champion, how was the Dukes of Silver changing from challengers to champions?
Just beat people up, man. Didn't really change. So we won the belts at that Summercade 4 show actually. Um, and then we held them on and off for about a year till year 4 is when we lost them to Tinge of Ginge. So before that, we only had a couple matches. So we were kind of finding our groove together as a team. And then once we got the belts, it was really we settled into that groove, and it was really hard to take those belts off us because we had our groove as a team, and we were cohesive unit in there.
And that's one of the coolest things about tag team wrestling is you have two guys working as one. Um, what would you say you preferred when you were watching wrestling as a fan, uh, singles or tag team competition?
Depended on the guys who were in there, but I really liked watching tags because that was the era of like the Hardys, Dudleys, Edge of Christian. That was like the prime time there, and those guys had amazing tag matches. And then you get into later, and then you had the big SmackDown 6 and their tags. I remember specifically their tag at Survivor Series, their triangle tag team matches still holds up to this day. It was phenomenal. So a lot of it was tag wrestling, honestly, that I watched growing up. But I do love like watching Taker beat people up is always great.
Were you ever into the Brothers of Destruction matches?
Yeah, the early ones, not so much. I didn't watch a whole lot of wrestling past 2009, so it was good from like I watched the early Brothers of Destruction, kind of like with Biker Taker and Kane.
So moving into uh, like sort of back to later wrestling, as you can sort of tell, this podcast it kind of goes all over the place. It's a little scrambled brain, but that's okay. So going
So
back to where you are now with uh, I suppose you are still Manly William Marsh, are you not?
not as much anymore. No, it's just I am a manly man, but I don't advertise it to go to the ring anymore or anything. It's just William Marsh, just straight
Deadly,
rough
deadly.
tumble William Marsh. We'll see what the future holds, but that's what we're doing right now.
Now there was a name you were using slightly for a couple of shows.
Just for the
Where
one
was
show,
the
Bone Cracker. Yeah,
inspiration for Bone Cracker?
it's my new song. It's the title of it, and it just so happened the same night I debuted that song, I broke the Newfie Bullet's arm. So the next show, I came out as Bone Cracker. That was just for those set of shows, so it's kind
Oh,
of a
for
one-off.
sure. And the song Bone Cracker,
Mm,
that one you found from the old wrestling games, correct?
yeah, I think it's Day of Reckoning, one or two, which I played a lot of. So I was just once I dropped I was changing my style around a little bit after the breakup of the Dukes of Silver. I was searching for that one song that I could use for essentially the rest of my career, and I really like this one, so I just listened to it. I was like, yeah, I could come out to this. It's pretty good.
I really like that, man. And the song really does suit you. It like the way you walk to the ring with that swagger. It definitely suits the song.
Yeah.
Um, what were some of your favorite video games when you were younger and today?
Uh, I always loved the N64. That's my console. To this day, I'll still play it. But I love the old school wrestling games, No Mercy, and then going into the GameCube with Day of Reckoning 2. Me and my buddy would play that every week. It was phenomenal. Nowadays, I just really like chill story games, something I can just sit on, play for an hour or two or six, and then go do something else. But yeah, it's just I don't really like these intense multiplayer games or anything like that. A good story that captivates me is like reading a book, but I'm playing through it essentially.
100%. And
Yeah.
were there any games that stood out to you outside of the wrestling ones, majorly?
Yeah. The same time I was doing my wrestling training up in Ontario, I would essentially just cut myself off for hours and play Horizon Zero Dawn. That game, the story, the setting, everything was still to this day captivating. I loved every second of it. That was a huge one for me. I guess because I played it at a certain point in my life where I really needed it. I guess so. It's one of my favorites. Probably my favorite game of all time.
That's awesome. I was always more of a Grand Theft Auto gamer, Grand Theft
Yeah,
Auto wrestling stuff like that. Later years, sort of got into the football games and the MMA games and stuff like
yeah,
that.
those are all good too. I don't know about football. I've never played one of those.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I used to play football in high school, and it wasn't until I started playing Madden that I actually understood how the game worked.
I, st- I still don't know how that game is played. I played rugby in high school.
How was that?
Painful, but fun. I never
So,
finished the season. I was always injured.
how did you end up joining that?
Um, because I was like, football seems cool, and then my parents were like, "There's no football in Newfoundland. You got to play rugby." So I was like, "All right, whatever." So I got into high school and I joined. Just grabbed my buddy and we joined the rugby team, and that was it. We barely my grade 10 year we barely had enough people to play, so that season was kind of kiboshed. And, and second year, I got a concussion, so we didn't finish that one. So it was like it's a great game though.
Oh, absolutely. It's like I always thought of it as kind of like football, but more violent with less pads.
Yeah. And high school is the worst because the guys aren't tackling it properly. It's literally like it's rough in high school.
Oh, big time. And the wild thing, Tony King has mentioned WWF No Mercy.
Love that game.
Obviously, that was a massive wrestling game that is still to this day one of the most streamed wrestling games outside of the brand new ones.
Yeah,
Like,
there's so
it's
many
one of the
mods for
best
that game.
ever.
Yeah. Oh, I played that a bunch growing up too. I'm not very good at it, but um, I remember that was the game there you could play and Kurt Angle could come out in a dress. Like it was innovative for its time. It was phenomenal.
Now, how did you used to make your create a wrestler?
Early on, I would make my creative wrestler uh, mainly in the SmackDown versus Raw games with the big Dragon Ball Super Saiyan hair and the face paint. That was the early way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then later on, I'd have normal hair, normal ring gear, but still with a marginal bit of face paint. And that was how I made my characters. Mainly because they
Awesome.
took the Super Saiyan hair out of the some of the newer games, or made it look realistic, which wasn't fun.
100%. Um, so when you were making your create a wrestler early on, what was your finishing move?
Mm, it was always early with stuff off the top, and honestly, later on, it kind of still is because I always. But when I started getting into wrestling, I would change my finisher in the games by what I was kind of doing in the ring. But yeah, in the video games, I pretend to be that high flyer who does all that crazy stuff because I'm not going to really do it in the ring here, right? So, a little bit of suspension of disbelief on my own end.
Oh, for sure, and it's always fun to play the games when you're able to go all over the place.
Exactly. But yeah, primarily the spine buster now.
That is tremendous. So, um, speaking to your in-ring style, when you were first coming into wrestling, like into the ring, what would you say was your main influence for your in-ring style?
Early on, it was more of just I kind of didn't have a, like, I just liked I knew I didn't want to be bouncing around the ring at all. And it kind of came at a time where I was watching old Nitros and Raws back to back weekly. Like I would go back, and then I was like watching Arn again, and I was like, right, he's phenomenal. So then I'd really watch and kind of watch his old stuff, and just be like, that's kind of the style I want to emulate. And so I take a bit of it inspiration from him, mainly from the Spinebuster, obviously, and just kind of his low to the ground, grappling, hard hitting style, which I loved. And fun fact: the first time I ever did the Spinebuster was when we won the belts at that year four show, not year four, sorry, Summercade on Newfie Bullet. So it was the first time I ever pulled it out. It wasn't my finish at the time.
And what did Arn Anderson say about your spine
I don't know. I
buster?
didn't talk to him that day. It wasn't because he was there. It was a move I wanted to start doing, and it just so happened that he was there that day. Right, and I realized it after. I was like, "Oh, I probably looked like an idiot doing trying to do a spine buster for the first time, and it didn't look that good because I didn't have the flow down yet." I was like, "I just made myself look like a dope, but whatever. It's better now."
Oh, you have a deadly spine buster, man. I'm fortunate to have not been hit by it yet. So moving towards that old school time frame, you said Arn Anderson really stood out to you. Was there
Yeah.
anyone else from that time frame that that stood out to you and sort of influenced any of the not bone cracker, but the bone cracking manly?
Just
Uh,
look at any of the four horsemen, really.
yeah.
Yeah, it was just a hard mouth style. Now the guys that FTR is a team that I also really like for the same reason. They're not old school. They're clearly still wrestling, but those guys have the same style that I love to watch and kind of portray as well. So those guys are really good. And not much from the WWE side, honestly, for that. But
Yeah, that's one thing. When I go back to that '80s time frame, it's really hard for me to get into the WWE tag team stuff outside of like the Hart Foundation and the Bulldogs and stuff like that.
outside of your like obvious greatest tag teams ever, yeah.
But yeah, what was it about Arn that really caught your attention, and what were some things that you uh, decided to pick up off of him?
Um, really, just his no laughter, no uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like no mercy. You just beat you down, keep you down there, and if he got up, he was probably hitting you with his spine buster, which I kind of took a lot of inspiration when he would hit that. This is before I used it to finish my matches, but it was that was another main thing, and his grappling style too, which I don't get to demonstrate as much as I would like out there. But
100%. Um, what were some of your main standout Arn Anderson matches, moments, things of that nature?
goodness, I mainly watched a lot of the stuff he did in the early Nitro days with the Four Horsemen. Um, but his stuff with oh my god, his name just gave me. What was his tag partner?
Which one? Tully, Oli.
I think both of them. Their tag matches too back in the '80s.
Yeah, he was
Those
also
were
partnered up with beautiful Bobby Eaton for a while in the Heenan family.
yeah, yeah,
Not Heenan family. Jesus, Dangerous Alliance. My God,
yeah.
where's my fucking head at?
I don't know, man. Things are
He
escaping
was
my
with
head this morning too.
Tully in the Heenan family.
Yeah.
At least he
So
was
much
just
history for getting me confused. But yeah, it was a lot of that stuff too that I watched, and it was like studied that stuff too.
How did you like Arn's work in the WWE?
I didn't watch a whole lot of it, honestly. Um, I don't. I haven't watched a lot of the old '80s WWE. It's mainly '80s WCW that I've been. on 80s and 90s. WWE, I really haven't watched, but I caught a couple matches, but I mean, kind of did the same thing over there. Little
Oh,
tweaks
big
here or
time.
there. Yeah.
Uh, Speaking to that time frame, obviously I say it in almost every episode. I'm a big fan of the Midnight Express.
Mhm.
The unfortunate uh, miss missed opportunity of having Arn and Tully against the Midnight. Um, would you have been very excited to see that match?
Oh, of course. How could you not? That would have been phenomenal.
Who do you think would have came out on top there?
Iron Dolly. No question.
Oh man, the build up to that match was tremendous. It's unfortunate that it never came to be, but both teams ended up doing tremendous things.
Oh, phenomenal. Some of the best teams ever.
100%. When it comes to your in ring style today and what you're doing in the ring these days, what would you say your goal is for like the next few years?
Man, just improving what I'm doing in there already. Always learning. Always, how can I do better next time? What can I do better next time? How can I improve myself? Getting to the gym, getting in better shape to prepare myself for the next time I'm in there is currently what I'm doing. Um, but watching back my own matches, making sure my stuff's good, and if I see something I don't like, making sure I don't do that same mistake again. Right. So that's just generalized what I want to be doing. Obviously, I want to wrestle everybody and have put on great matches and help the company grow. Essentially,
100%. And speaking of the company, how did you get with New Evolution Wrestling?
so I was originally with Legend City Wrestling, and I got brought over because I was working with a lot of the guys who were working with LCW came over to NEW, Wheeler and Dylan, and they were like, he's a good ref, so they brought me over, and I started refing there as well for Travis, starting in 2015. I think I missed the first couple of shows he did, but then I came over, and honestly, the rest is history. There, I just started refing for him then, and been there ever since.
How would you say starting as a referee helped you in the ring as a wrestler?
So much, so much. You're in there. You're literally seeing what's happening every match. You're watching it happen. So you're unconsciously getting all this information kind of thrown at you all at once. So I started processing that, and it helped me when I started training. So you learn so much
Uh,
in just in there alone.
and when you were coming in, who would you say were some of the guys that really took to you and helped you out? I know you already mentioned Cowboy Mike Hughes, obviously Wheels, Maverick Wheeler, and
Yeah, he taught me a lot because I was tagging with him. So like I learned a lot just by what he would do in there and everything. I kind of watched and picked at watched a lot of the guys doing their um, stuff and how they would do things, how they would do certain moves and stuff. And early on in my career, I was wrestling with Buck a lot, and he's a guy that was instrumental in helping me because he didn't mind if I stiffed him a little bit when I was learning and stuff. So he was okay with all that. So he taught me a whole bunch too. And I know if I'm probably forgetting people, but I haven't slept much since Catamaran, so I apologize.
Oh, no worries at all. Speaking to Buck, how would you say his influence helped you moving forward in wrestling?
Cool. Well, he just taught me like a lot of it was positioning and where I needed to be, when I needed to be there, selling, all this stuff. Like just how you work in there, matches, how you do everything. He just taught me a lot of the like bare bones basic stuff and being in front of a crowd and all that. Because he was one of the guys I first kind of like really feuded with, and he just helped me instrumentally throughout my just hitting that whole baseline of things that I needed to work on. Like he helped me so much. I think I wrestled him like almost 10 times. So
And in my opinion, Buck Gotch is one of the most underrated wrestlers here in Newfoundland. Much better than he gets credit for, in
he's
my
really
opinion.
good. Yeah.
Um, when it comes to your behind the scenes, I don't want to say jobs, but obviously all the boys do the ring. But one of the guys who is given the task of leading ring crew is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How did that all come about? How did you start putting these rings together?
Day one with LCW, I helped put the ring together. So it was like just listen, learn how it goes together, and do it again and again and again. So that's essentially all I would do. And it didn't happen overnight. It was kind of just a gradual process. A lot of it came when we had an influx of new talent and the new guys coming in. I took it upon myself because I like teaching. So I taught the new guys how to put the ring together. I kind of took it upon myself to do that, and the unload and the load up as well. How the ring should go in the truck because as you know, one of those rings is really heavy, and you kind of need that direction, else not somebody's going to get hurt. Because I have a health and safety background, so that's kind of where the initiative came from. Is this ring sucks? It's heavy. People are going to get lazy. Somebody might get hurt. So I was like, I'll take it upon myself to direct every lift and every action while we're lifting this stupid heavy ring. So that's kind of how it started. And then it just kind of went from there as I just do it now. It's kind of just a natural process of, oh, the ring's going together. People come to me, hey, how should this be done? Or whatever. So, but I also, through that, like to teach other people because obviously I don't want to be doing it by myself every time. So, my main thing is I teach everybody, especially the new guys coming in, here's how it goes together there. This goes here. If you have any, like, here's how you would troubleshoot something if I'm not here, blah, 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 because it never goes together right the first time. We have to saw part of it at Catamaran the weekend, right? So, like,
Yeah, there's always something something goes wrong with it every time.
always something. Sure, last going off with LCW, the ring would break every show. So, like, and then I was the ref, so none of the boys could come out and help me. So, there was one time the rope broke, so I took a ratchet strap and I hooked it into the turnbuckle and I ratchet strapped the thing tight to the ring, so at least the rope was there. But that was middle of the show. Like, what are you gonna do? take it, and you can't do it. You can't take the ring out because there's fans there. The show's got to go on. So what are you gonna do? Rope would look like crap unless you're tight as you can, and even then, you can't hit it. So at least with the ratchet strap attached, you might be able to get something out of it. So
A
it's kind
hundred
of where my
percent.
innovative fixing of rings came from.
And that's one thing you do very well is finding innovative ways to fix any issues that come up with these rings. There's always a plan of attack. But you mentioned your health and safety background. Um, did you want to elaborate on that?
I just did a OHS diploma in school, so I learned all about health and safety in the workplace and all the legislation behind it. So I kind of bring that into every job I go to. Currently, don't have a job in, I'm looking, so fingers crossed. But I just trying to transfer that into everything because my back hurts. So lift properly and don't do any more damage to yourself is kind of my go-to. Like I don't want to do any more damage to myself, so why not do things safely and properly the first time so you don't mess yourself up or hurt yourself.
And that's a great way to try to help everybody around you, and it really goes back to that wanting to teach the next generation uh
100%.
like the right way to go about things. um One thing that I found really cool when I first met you, you were in school for what was the
Paramedicine,
specific course?
primary care paramedicine, so working on the ambulances as a first responder. So I finally finished that because of COVID, it took forever. So I'm finally finished that. This is actually a study break. And I got a big exam on Thursday. So for my licensing, but I have a diploma in that as well now. So now I can fix anybody that hopefully be able to fix anybody that gets hurt at shows. It's not me.
Hopefully, but yeah. How long was that course?
It was supposed to be 2 years, but it was 2.5 because of COVID. Because we got booted online, and then paramedicine isn't something you can do just online because there's a practical aspect to it. So we had to go back to school and wait. It was just a mess. But we worked with what we got.
100%, and it's good to hear that all of that has gone well for you, and you're learning all kinds of ways to help not just yourself but everybody else. Um,
It's all about the
Speaking
next
to
generation
your
too, man.
100%, and speaking to your teaching, is there anything you wanted to do with teaching?
Oh yeah. Well, I want to teach karate first and foremost. Like that's what I want to be at. So I will do that in the future. It's going to happen. Just it's a matter of getting there. So
And whenever that happens, I'll make sure I send my kids to your dojo.
it's appreciated.
Absolutely. Before we gets out of here, was there anything or anybody else that you wanted to name drop as an inspiration to you or elaborate on? Maybe any stories you'd like to tell?
You're gonna have to give me direction on a story. I got a lot going on. Been across the province a couple times on tours and lots of stories from there. But one guy that wasn't really a super inspiration until he was Hacksaw. Um, on my first tour, he was the headline guy. So we were down in Marystown, and This is my first, by the way, this is my first day ever involved in any sort of professional wrestling, any sort of on stage thing. And I was given the microphone and said, "You're ring announcing tonight." So I was like, "Oh, I've never been in front of a crowd doing anything like presentations. I couldn't even do them in front of my friends. Like I was super nervous, super scared. I was like, I had no confidence in myself or anything. Right? This is back 2013 me. So I was nervous. I was in the bathroom. I was just shaking, washing my hands and stuff. And Hacksaw came in and he said, "Are you ring announcing tonight?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So he's like, "You'll do fine. Uh, make it your own kind of thing. Get in there, have fun with it. Don't think too much." And then he jokingly said, "It's Glenn's fault, not or it's Glenn fault, not Glenn's fault. Let's get it right, brother, or you'll learn." I was like, "Okay, okay." So that kind of lightened me up a little bit, and then it worked out. I did okay. So
That's really good to hear. Was there anything you wanted to plug today?
I mean, I'm not super active on social media, but I do have a Facebook, Manly William Marsh, because I haven't changed it. I have a Twitter that I never use because I don't like that platform. It's Manly William M. And I have my Instagram, Tyler Marsh 56, which I also somewhat post on. I'm not super into the social media. Like I have a lot of stuff going. Like I just don't care for it. I know I should, but I don't. Not like yourself, who has all this stuff going down at the bottom of the page right now.
And what was your Instagram again? Sorry.
Uh, Tyler Marsh. Let me double check actually, because I don't actually know. If I think it's Tyler Marsh 56.
I'm just gonna end up
Yes, it is.
flashing these on the screen. Yeah, 56. You said.
Yeah. I do plan to
Okay.
become more active on my social platforms, but
So I got this up on the screen. So Manly William Marsh on Facebook, Manly William M on Twitter, and Tyler Marsh 56 on Instagram. Make sure to check out the most manly wrestler in Newfoundland. Um, Absolutely deadly things coming out of this guy.
look forward to it.
Absolutely. And before we get out of here, I might as well plug my stuff. It's been scrolling around the bottom the entire show, but might as well speak on it. So I'm going to start with the companies I associate with, and first and foremost, going to be the one that I met the good old Manly one through, and that is New Evolution Wrestling. So check out their link tree, linktr.ee/New Evolution Wrestling, and when you go there, you can find the shop zone, you can find the website, you can find the YouTube, the everything. Anything New Evolution Wrestling, you can find it right there. No problem whatsoever. And you can find Manly William Marsh whooping people and spine busting all over the place, bone cracking. And I must promote these. Linktree, linktr.ee/Can-Am Wrestling. That's right, Can-Am Wrestling is bringing back the territories for the independent wrestling scene with the World Organization of Independent Wrestling. And you can find everything that AWA, Alberta Wrestling Academy, and Can-Am Wrestling is doing right there at Linktree/Can-Am Wrestling. And last but definitely not least, especially because this is my show, linktr.ee/TSP Cameron Stevens. That's right, you can find every damn thing that I do on that page. It's my website, it's my store, it's my Facebook, it's my Instagram, my Twitter, my Twitch, my TikTok, my Wrestling Amino, friggin' Snapchat,
There's so
PayPal.
much.
You can find the NEW stuff. You can find the Can Am stuff. You can find I'm forgetting stuff. There's so much on there.
This is what overwhelms me about that. Nope, too much.
Make sure to check it all out. There's only so much I do with a lot of it. Like, I don't go on Wrestling Amino all that much. I've only been dabbling in it a little bit, but this one's here on Twitch. So anyone watching this from Twitch, thank you for checking out my Twitch, and make sure to check out everything else I do. For everybody who joined in, with the exception of that bitch Jeremiah Javen, thank
He'll
you
get
for
his.
joining and watching.
I'm not done
Uh,
with that yet.
Was there any last message you'd like to deliver to the people before we got out of here?
I can't wait to see everybody at the next one, September 10th, at the CLB. I think it's the 10th.
Yep.
It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to get back there. It's been too long.
100%. And I will be at Can-Am Wrestling's campground show at the Elkton Valley Campground for the Elkton Valley Stampede, and that will be on the 28th of August this month. It'll be
Day after my
myself
birthday.
and Jordan Aries, the Heroic Headbangers, taking or not Jesus, the Heroic Headbanger Jordan Aries and the Steel Panther Cameron Stevens, the Midnight Headbangers, taking on the Voros Twins and the Men in Pink. So make sure to check out myself at that show, Manly at his show, New Evolution Wrestling. It's all best kind. Thank you, brother, for coming on the
Thanks
program,
for having me, man. It was a good time.
and hopefully we can get you on one of these shows again. Yeah, man, great talking to you.
You too, brother.
Awesome, brother. And we are